Hey guys, Day back again with another Star Citizen discussion video, and today we're going to be talking about items and loot within the Star Citizen universe. And I'm excited to do this one because I was having a lot of questions about how the economy with items and loot is going to work. And this is just the first part. I'm going to do another couple videos about the economy, but this will be just basics behind the items and loot in the game. And please feel free to discuss and add any input to what I'm saying to the comment section. Anything that you think should be added, or how things run, anything that maybe I missed and you want to add. So let's get into it. Star Citizen will be using a player-driven economy, which is really interesting. So there's going to be no loot tables and no drop percentages, no farming of NPCs, and we'll get more into that as we go along. So let's start right at the bottom. What kind of items are there going to be? There's going to be basic goods. So these are going to be items that are needed in the universe. Water, food, anything for the NPCs, that kind of thing. I don't know if I consider fuel a basic good, but it really is. All items produced at factories and otherwise unmodified items. Things that are just basics and things that are sort of needs in games. There's going to be premium goods. Now, these are going to be a lot of the basic goods, but they're going to be upgraded through performance tuning and modifications or overclocking, whatever you want to call it. But these will all be done by players, so remember that. There's also going to be unique goods. So these are going to be items that cannot be produced at factories from players. So most likely we're going to see some of the Vandal weapons, you know, their hand weapons, their boss characters might drop armors, pistols, rifles, that kind of thing. As well as there's going to be, I'm thinking, mission rewards, storyline rewards, things that you can only get from Squadron 42. And yeah, alien artifacts. Like, I think there's a $45 million stretch goal. There's already something, a rare alien artifact. So there you go, unique goods that you're not going to be able to get in game from other players. The next one I want to talk about is raw materials. So what is that? Or gas, other found mined materials that can be refined into parts like fuel, drinking water. So raw materials is similar to basic goods, but goods are probably something that'll be crafted, whereas the raw materials are going to be, you're going to find them out in the universe. Another type of item is going to be refined materials. Sorry. Not raw materials. Fuels, right? Metals, like, and I'm talking about metal like metal plates, metal rods, metal ship components, anything refined from the raw materials and that are used as a production node to produce basic goods. The last thing I have is salvaged materials. So salvage metal parts, anything that you get from blowing up ships, and there's going to be derelict parts floating around everywhere. Anything that you can be used at a production node to produce basic goods, like recycling, anything. And I'm hoping that we're going to be able to recycle almost everything, even all the way down to seats and tubes and beds and all that stuff. That's what I'm hoping we can do. So the first and perhaps the most important thing about this item loot system is that everything will be coming from the manufacturing system, the players. Remember that there's going to be no traditional loot drop or tables, right? Most MMOs you're grinding for items. This won't have that. We're going to have to salvage. We're going to have to find unique items, and NPCs themselves will disappear from the world when they're killed. So it's not going to be possible to farm NPCs for the loot and just keep cycling to get better stuff. Let's talk about some of the components. So I've gotten some examples of items found on the site that we currently know will be in the game, but not a lot of them are made from specific vendors or specific companies and brands. But just because they're in the game, I can foresee that they're potentially craftable. So let's talk about some of the components that I have kind of written down and compiled. Intakes, thrusters, engines, hull, cargo, there's so many, right? Tools, guns, jump drives, shield generators, ammo racks, weapon batteries, and then there's even some special ones, devices to hide cargo,
smuggling tools, smuggling scanners, things to find smugglers. There's going to be so much. And also, after you've gone through all those lists of items that, you know, 'cause there's so many, right? You can go through so many, but everything's going to be able to be upgraded and modified. So every producer you might have a special type of ore that you know where that's specific, that you keep hidden, and you can use that to upgrade, say, your assault rifles you make. So remember that too. One side note about this whole system is it's run by the people, right? The population. So each star system will have a predetermined amount of people. So it's going to be made up of NPCs and players, and they're going to be monitoring that and balancing it. So the player population will be smaller than the NPC population, most likely. One forum post said up to 10%. So 10% human population to NPCs. What's going to happen is when a player enters the system, they're going to take the place of an NPC. So as long as NPCs are there in-game, they're going to be living, working, trading, pirating, manufacturing, whatever else, just as any player would do. So the players will not be able to change anything. They're going to try to keep it balanced as best they can. So you're not going to be able to spike the economy, because the large NPCs working and trading will help kind of keep everything in check. And what's cool about this system is that there will always be a market, even if players aren't fulfilling it. So we're talking about distant systems and further away stuff where there's not going to be as many players, but the NPCs are going to be actively trying to maintain a sort of a fuel ratio, a tax ratio, a goods ratio, so you'll still be able to get things, but depending on the populations, it'll change. Let's go back to production, actually producing the items. So the crafting I've kind of seen in Star Citizen. I compare it to SimCity, that system, where the production process consists of getting the proper equipment, gathering materials, refining materials, producing them, transporting them, and then there's going to be people who can improve the basic characteristics of it, performance tuning, and then there's going to be vendors, people selling the goods to the other players. We know that factories and storefronts are going to be owned by players. And yes, I said storefronts, like stores and chains of stores will be able to be operated. And so factories are going to be consisting of multiple production nodes. You're not just going to be able to have a factory who just makes something. You're going to need to be, say, missiles. There's a post on missiles. You're going to need the electronics, the steel, whatever that takes to make it. Production quality is potentially impacted by employee happiness of the NPCs and your players at one point. The economy generating missions are spawned based on what is needed or missing in the supply chain, including piracy. So you make missiles in your factory, right? And a war starts and missiles start being used. The production's gonna go up. Or pirates are raiding your shipments. Again, the price is going up. Supply and demand is gonna be a huge key. And at each step in this process, an NPC will fill the role if a player is not available. So if supply is going up and I'm putting out messages, hey, I need missiles, or aluminum or whatever, uranium. An NPC, if there's no players picking it up, an NPC will actually take that order and you'll be able to pay them to do it. One thing to think about is if your factory's doing well, purchasing more machines will attract more employees, and the population of the planet will actually grow as a result. So everything is dependent on the players in this game, which is so cool, right? And not like everything, I mean supply and demand and price and everything, but NPCs will change depending on how the players are interacting with each system. Chris Roberts has said he doesn't do anything half-assed. If it's as complicated, and everything is complicated, like the amount of detail he's put in the ships is going to be the same in this economy. So in saying that, they're claiming if a factory is mismanaged and its owner can't pay his workers and is forced to lay them off, the population of the planet will become unhappy. And unhappy planets will actually spawn more criminal missions, which increase piracy in the system. The system they have in place is amazing. Let's go a little off topic now, and let's just go talk about the actual resource gathering. Mining itself is going to require a mix of exploration, so actually getting out there and flying around, and scanning things. You're going to need scanners to actually see. I mean, you can eye things up all you want, but you're going to have to scan stuff. It's going to be also a mix of skill. So actually being able to laser cut and mine properly and not just crappy is going to actually alter the state of the items you're collecting, how good you are. And the final thing is logistics, right? Hauling all that cargo, having a good communication system in order. All this is going to be the difference between being successful and not successful in resource gathering. I did read somewhere that spaceborne gases will be able to be collected from giant gas planets, and extra solar sources can be refined into fuel. So huge money is not just in mining, but in also gathering fuel, gathering different areas of gas, plotting it out, selling information to players. Hey, I know where this mining field is, I know where this gas is. And also large ships that are capable of tractoring in spaceborne junk and asteroids, and using mining droids. All these things are going to be able to be subcontracted out and very valuable and great money makers. So as we come to a close, the final thing I wanted to kind of talk about was the performance tuning and the money sinks in game. So if you remember back early in the video, I was talking about that final step of performance tuning. This is what's going to make the different stores in the universe different from each other. All devices or items in the game will have a threshold where they're running at maximum efficiency and a maximum yield, right? So performance tuning is the process of tweaking a basic item to find that threshold where it has a special use or a specialty. Some items will have a potential that will be greater than others. Like you're not going to be able to tweak little basic bandages that much, but an assault rifle can probably be tweaked quite a bit. And the parts are going to be manufactured within tolerances. And while every part of that rolls off the line will function precisely to its rated value, you'll be able to truly pull the capability that can be discovered by players by risking failure. So if you are making that item, you can risk to really put different parts on, but you risk losing the item, whatever it is, a thruster, a engine part. It'll tell you you've done right. I don't think you're going to be able to sell a defunct thruster to somebody and it blows them up in space. Although that's a really cool idea. So yeah, you'll be able to push that hardware past its rated specifications, hopefully, and you can have a disastrous results, like really poor turnout, or you might be able to get some really cool specific things, attributes to each item, like your guns, your parts, everything, your suits, your ships. What's cool is they've said that to alleviate some of that risk, you'll be able to bench test the equipment in your hangar before you can actually take it out and sell it and stuff like that. So if an item works and it's not a failure, you'll still be able to test it in your hangar before like just selling it. And the last thing I want to talk about is money sinks in game, which ties all this together. The biggest money sinks are going to be taxes. Any credit transaction, there's going to be a tax, which is a good thing, because you want a reason to keep wanting to make money. If it's too easy to make money, the game becomes boring. Like, you have all the ships, you have nothing to sink your money into. It becomes, you lose interest. So this way, taxes will be implemented, fees, and when we talk about fees, we're talking about docking, hangar rental, insurance, fuel fees. Like, there's going to be fees on top. It's almost like a tax. Medical bills, repairs, ammunition. That's more like taxes. Ammunition, wages, hiring NPCs. If you think all these guys are gonna buy constellations and fly them solo, remember that you're gonna have wages to pay in NPCs. And the big final one I have for money sink is fuel. If you haven't already, check out my flight physics video. I talk about saving fuel and some of the tactics you're going to have to use while flying in space. But fuel is going to be massive money sink. You're going to need to be cognizant of how much money you have and how much fuel you have, and kind of balancing it out. You know that there's going to be players sitting in starfares in deep space saying, hey, free fuel for a price. It's going to be expensive. Or you might see players who've mined their own fuel and are in highly populated systems selling fuel for cheaper than the NPCs. So there's going to be that tug of war of economy, but what's beautiful is it's all going to be taking place from the players. Anyways, guys, that's it. I'm sorry this was a little longer, but thanks for sticking through it. I'm Day. Subscribe if you already haven't. You need to do it. I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for everything.